All right, so hey everyone, we're back with Blue Sanders, and this is kind of the second part of the interview, and we've touched on a lot of stuff. We've kind of gone through a history of what he's done, how he got here, the journey, all the places he's traveled, and some of the great people that he's worked with, and really kind of talking about inspiration and what else is going on. Blue, the thing I want to ask you, this is definitely something I don't know, and you've touched on it a couple of times. You know, you moved back to El Paso because you needed to go home and take care of your dad, and you had mentioned that he had passed away of Lou Gehrig's disease. I'm fascinated by your book, and I haven't read it yet, but I'm looking at it, and it looks interesting because it's all around a car. Can you tell me a little bit about it? Because I think people would want to know.
Sure. Well, the book's called The 41. It's about a 1941 Chevrolet. I mean, the blurb on the book is really what it is. It's about me going home, taking care of my father, and racing to restore this old car for him to try to take him for a ride before he dies. But the bigger story is my dad was an attorney in El Paso. He was a family law lawyer, really, for the most part, criminal defense. Every once in a while, if you're lucky, you got a personal injury case and made more money than you usually made. But he did a lot of bartering. You know, El Paso's a relatively poor city, or it certainly was 35 years ago, especially. And, you know, you're serving the community, and not everyone can pay a big legal bill. So sometimes you trade. So my dad would do a will or a divorce, and he would come home with like an armoire or rolls of snakeskin, or like a big brisket, or some wheels of cheese, or like in this other case, he came home with his old 1941 car, and he brought. I never saw the thing run. I feel like he told me it ran at one time, but I don't have any recollection. I've never known it to have ever run. So he brought it home. He put it in the backyard. And this is when the picture on the book is me when I'm like 2 or 3 years old. He took it apart, him and his buddy took the engine out. We're going to restore it. Never did. And it just sat in my backyard for my entire life. And, you know, we used to play in it, and it was just part of literally it was just a car in the backyard. And I always thought someday I'd fix it up. I didn't really know what that meant. My brother maybe thought he was going to fix it. Certainly my father, when he got it, thought he was going to fix it. But, you know, things get away from you. And he had a family to raise, and the car just sat there. And so when I came home, you know, Lou Gehrig's disease is a terminal disease. Everyone that gets it dies. Your muscles slowly stop working until you can't breathe, you can't eat, my dad's could move his eyebrows at the very end of his life, and that was it. You're completely paralyzed. It's a brutal, horrible disease. And we knew he was going to die. We just don't know when. Some people it's rapid. Some people just nosedive and it goes quickly. Some people, my dad was diagnosed for 7 years. And, you know, it kind of plateaus and then it takes a dive. But I knew we were on the clock the whole time. I mean, I knew that. But I decided before I came home, I said, I want to fix this car. And I just thought it might be a sort of a righteous thing to do for my dad, to get it working. And because he had never taken a ride in it, as far as I know. And that thing sat in our yard for like 40 years. I mean, it was since I was a little kid. I mean, I went home at 35. So it was at least there for 33 years, just sitting back there collecting dust. There's a link on my website if you want to actually see the car. So I wanted to fix the car. I didn't do much creatively other than write about this car and the time being home. I didn't know I wasn't going to have the energy, but I just did not have the energy as a caretaker. I was exhausted. It was pulling a lot out of me and my father and my stepmother. I mean, you know, things that I didn't know were going to happen. And it was just something I would write. I knew I wanted to write a book about it. I'd never written a book. I'd just written songs. Writing a book, totally different than writing songs. But I knew so I just would jot things down as the days went by, and maybe lines, dialogue, or things that we did, and then I would go in maybe that night, maybe the next day, and I would sort of write a little more detail about something that had happened. and so I just started writing about the whole story. So I wrote it while I was doing it. So the book is sort of, as I was going, I wrote the book in present tense, which is sort of not normal. You may not notice that.
It reads like a journal.
Yeah. Yes, it does. Yeah. But it's a story, and we're my goal was to try to get this car done, and as he was sort of deteriorating, the car is building, and my hope was to take him for a ride. And I won't tell you how it ends.
That's a perfect way to do it, so we can go find out for ourselves. So for those that are interested, first off, let's do a plug for where you can find all things Blue Sanders. I'm pretty sure it's bluesanders.com. You can find out what he's doing, and you can see all kinds of cool stuff from the songs that he's written and who he's written with and collaborated with, along with this book that's on there. He's got some merch like everyone does. But the other thing I wanted to touch on is that you, like most of us that are creative, we've got all kinds of creative outlets, but one of your favorite creative outlets outside of music is photography. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that? Did that get started like at an early age? Did it come later? Did you say, oh, I like taking pictures? And I mean, do you have fancy cameras, or do you just like using your iPhone and getting out there and doing stuff?
I do have a fancy camera. I've had fancy cameras, but I now just have one. I take most pictures with my iPhone. And that's just, I don't know who, I can't remember the quote, the best camera quote. It might be Chase Jarvis. I can't remember but the quote is, the best camera, is I'm paraphrasing, is the one you have with you. And that typically is your phone. And
right.
Phones take pretty good pictures. I mean, I'm a few phones back on an iPhone X. It doesn't take as good as an iPhone 11. But my dad had cameras actually, and they were film cameras, of course, way back then. And so and even in high school, I was piddling around. I didn't really know what I was doing. And then when I moved to New York, I really started taking a lot more pictures. There were a lot more places to get film developed. I mean, New York, it was like every block had some sort of a camera shop, lab. And then I got a digital camera, I guess, at some point in Nashville. And I've been snapping ever since. And I've really, the live music stuff I've only done the most of in the last years with Miranda. But yeah, just sort of, it came from my dad just because he had cameras, and I sort of took them like, kids do. They just take their parents' things and start using them. I did, a stint doing weddings, and those are all things I'm sort of reconsidering now. And weddings are tough, especially for a touring musician, because they require commitment like a year in advance, and it's really hard to make any sort of commitment like that.
I understand that completely, because I do like taking pictures. I mean, I've got an okay camera, and of course I use my iPhone a lot, but if I'm not playing music, the thing that put me through college, and one of the things that I did is I was a DJ. So talking about weddings, I was just talking about this with my wife, a couple of days ago, is that I actually have a wedding booked in October, and I'm like, I'm not sure we're going to be doing that. And I've already reached out to the bride, and I was like, I know that it's June, but we might need a contingency plan in case you need to push this thing off to 2021. And she's like, well, but they said it's going to be fun. I'm like, who's they? Look, I understand that's not something nobody knows. So thinking about how, it's a great segue to kind of get into the current state of affairs. I mean, so you got this album,
sure,
both of them, and we talk about the 50 and 50, and it was kind of like it just happened. But I mean, what's the lesson learned here? What are you taking away from everything? I mean, not only the state of the planet with, hey, we're in the middle of a freaking pandemic and no one really knows how to navigate this thing very well, but now we have another unprecedented historic thing that's happening in our world, with the George, Floyd killing and all of that stuff. I mean, not to get too political here, but I mean, how are you feeling about all of this? I just like to know. I mean, I think a lot of us are talking about it, and we don't know no one knows how to navigate this very well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm appalled by it. I would like to think most people are appalled by it. Sometimes if you are on social media, it doesn't seem like enough people are appalled by it. It's interesting. I mean, Tennessee's in the South, and there's a lot of Southern pride and country music, and I work with people who post some questionable things sometimes, where I feel like I really do feel like it's a time to listen. I mean, I think as a white kid, if it's not painfully obvious that I don't understand the experience from a personal place the way an African American experiences it, I mean, this is the time to me, it's so disappointing when people miss that sort of the lowest bar, which is acknowledging that it's really not about you, and that maybe, and not that I don't have opinions about the world, of course I do, and at the same time, like, I'm a pretty left leaning progressive voter kind of person, and I'm not a fan of the cancel culture. I'm not a fan of stopping people from talking. I mean, I do really think ultimately that bad ideas get flushed out with good ideas, but if you don't know them, I mean, like, I follow plenty of right-wing people on Twitter, for example, because if, it's like the algorithm sort of feeds your own social ego. I mean, if you didn't follow people that weren't like you, that had a different perspective than you, you would think you lived in a world that was exactly like you are. But it's literally the computer telling you, just sort of reinforcing what you think. And as much as sometimes pulsed by some things that people say, I actually learn things. And I think it's important to keep conversation going. All that said, I just can't, I don't know what else people need to say, we got problems in this country, and they haven't gone away, and we have to sort it out. I mean, we have to. But I think it's a time that to listen. I mean, and I even sent a message to some people today. I said, maybe we should, when we're back on the road, find a way to educate ourselves, bring some external people in to talk to our crew or our, the people that we work with, so that we can, when somebody's, because everybody's from a different place. I mean, I have a branch of my family history that goes all the way to the Pettus Bridge, which, the Pettus Bridge is famous in Selma, Alabama for not particularly positive things. And so how do I personally, I don't really have an attachment to that part of my life, but it is part of my family tree if I were to walk it back many generations. And I don't know exactly how to discuss it. And I would like to understand it from but I would like to have somebody explain it to me. Somebody who knows about Southern history, Civil War history, African American Civil War history. I mean, in particular, obviously. I mean, Tennessee just voted to keep a bust of a former Grand Wizard of the KKK at the Capitol. That to me is disgusting. And I just don't understand how somebody, no matter where you're from, no matter how much of your family is important to you, at some point, I can't, it's just mind boggling to me. Like, let it go, man. Let it go. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. If you can't at least get to that point, then I don't know where we go. But we're at a real turning point. We're at a crossroads. I hope positive changes are in the future. It's hard. We're all out of money. We're all in Nashville. I mean, yesterday there was going to be another protest today. Some of the downtown business owners are saying, we're dying here, guys. We've got to board up our businesses. Our industry has been crushed by this virus. I mean, those are real opinions. And with real people who have bills to pay and employees. And, I think we're missing an opportunity if we don't talk to each other. I mean, I'm just one person,
Sure.
I know who I'm voting for. I know the politics that I traditionally vote for. But I don't know, man. It is an intense time. And I mean, it doesn't take but a quick 15 minutes on Twitter to read stories where you go, wow, okay, I really don't know what it's like to not be myself. I mean, I just think it's a time to pay attention to people that have the stories that you need to tell, that they need to tell. And I'm afraid. I know there's going to be a trial with George Floyd and the police officers. I mean, I've sat on a jury where I tweeted about it the other day. I sat on a jury where there was an aggravated assault case where one kid shot another kid. They were at home at a table drinking, and he shot him. And there was no question that he shot him. That was never up for debate. We walked in that courtroom. The kid shot the other kid. He severed his spinal cord. The kid was paralyzed for the rest of his life. And yet 12 people still had a hard time convicting this kid, calling him guilty based on the law. And it was very specific, and it was the hardest thing I've probably ever done. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there was tears. There was a variety of people, older, younger, mostly, I guess, probably Hispanic, since it was in El Paso, and that's just the makeup of the city. But this kid, I mean, he shot someone. There was no question. And some people still had a hard time saying he was guilty. And that's my fear for the trial. It's that somehow it will be not guilty based on this very specific reading of the law. I'm not a lawyer. I couldn't tell you. I just know my experience. I don't know. I mean, I know police officers, of course, like most people probably do. My experience with them as, friends and good family friends is, I can't imagine them doing something that you watch on television. And I'm sure they can't either. So it puts everybody in a difficult situation. But I do have hope. That may be silly some days. Sometimes the world doesn't seem very hopeful. I'm not a fan of this administration. I think there's a lot of movement we can make in a different direction. I hope we do. But we'll see. Time will tell, I guess.
So I was talking about a lot of these similar ideas with a friend of mine. He's actually the guy that helps me produce, and he helps me write, and he's been kind of my confidant and mix and mastering guy over the last few years. And he said something to me, and I didn't really think about it, because this does feel very much like it was the last time we saw this sort of uprising in culture, and where everyone needed to say something and we needed to listen, and that was in the 60s. And out of that also came some amazing anthems, and just the idea of, some of us can do something to put out, awareness and have it reach a broad audience. I think about a lot of the songwriters in the 60s, and, even through Woodstock, I mean, it was all, it wasn't just peace and love. It was literally, hey, we need some peace because we need to try and have that in our world. And why can't we just all get together and love each other, And I wouldn't be surprised if, we start seeing an outpouring of emotion from artists and musicians if we haven't already seen some of that. And
sure,
I would think that would inspire songwriters. I mean, do you feel inspired with the times that we have right now? Is that kind of where you're going, or do you have just, how do you write?
No, I mean, I have some songs that are, I don't really think of myself as a political writer at all. I guess I just kind of sit down, and sometimes I write poetry and that turns into songs. And I don't know if this is, I don't know if it's my, and I say my as a person like me, my time to try to sort of heal wounds. It feels like it's the time for the people that have been put down and oppressed, and to use their voices. I mean, I that's not to say people, obviously everyone is valid, and everyone's creative expressions are worthy. And there's not one way. I mean, I am not a fan of saying there's one way to do it. It's this way. And if you're not going this way, well, then you're wrong. I don't like that, but I don't know. I think like it's sort of your own personal therapy. If you want to write things down and sing them, then by all means you should do it. I mean, there's that. Everybody needs a little help to navigate through these times.
That makes sense, and I appreciate your candor. I mean, it's not like I'm fishing for the answer. Like, you're going to go write a protest song. I really think maybe I should have been more specific and kind of segueing from a very heavy topic of conversation for all of us right now and for the world. And we hope that things can go in a better way. And if we, like you said, I'm a big fan of, we should listen, and be kind. If we can listen and be kind, then that's going to go a long way for a lot of people. And I hope that we can do that. In regards to, kind of how that leads to our conversation with songwriting, maybe the question really needs to be more about, is there a process for you that you find that you do, or do you just lock yourself up in the office there and start doing something?
Writing with other people is a different animal. You sort of try to come to the table with maybe some titles. Perhaps you've been working on something. I mean, I find cold turkey sometimes works good too. I'm writing on Monday with someone who's a great writer that I want to do well with. I know her very well, but I want to make sure that I have something to say, a little something to go on. Sometimes people's time is limited, and you just gotta get to it. So I mean, you can sit around and chat for 3 hours about what you've been doing, or you can write a song because someone has to be done by 1 p.m. That's a different animal as opposed to like me personally, which is I'm just noodling around in my bedroom. And I have a list of titles, melodies. My voice recorder on my phone is full of mostly terrible, but sometimes decent melodies. I kind of think I do sort of feeling first, like a riff or a melody, or some people keep lyric journals of lyrics. I'm not really that guy. I think the thing that probably I do more than anything is write poetry. And they'll take that and sort of make that into a song.
No, that makes sense.
I always kind of say,
yeah. I mean, what is a song really? I mean, it's in a sense. I mean, it's poetry with music ultimately.
Yeah. I mean, I always kind of say also, I don't have a lot of success in music, so it's not like I can say like, well, my first number one was I did it this way, and let me tell you, this is how it works for me. This is how I did my next 10 number one singles. I mean, I don't have that, so it's not like I can tell you what works better or worse for me. I'll go any way. I'll do anything. I'll try anything. I'll write any kind of music because I enjoy that.
Right.
If I ever lock into something and it's like wildly successful and that's the way it works, then we can come back and I can tell you how I did it.
Yeah, let me tell you about this time I wrote this song and just sold over 100 records, and I just went aluminum.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if I sell 100 records, I'll be pretty happy.
So I kind of want to wrap things up, but I am interested in one thing. And
sure.
What is who are you listening to right now? What do you like? Like, you get in the car, you go out.
Yeah,
what are you listening to?
I'm going to pull up my Amazon Music real quick. I will tell you, I listen to more talk radio than I do anything, and podcasts. I've always done that. Let's see, what have I listened to on? Last night I was listening to Rufus Wainwright. There is Madison Cunningham is a young girl who is amazing, and she was doing a cover of Rufus, so we were listening to some Madison Cunningham, and then she did a cover of Rufus, so I went and dug in and listened to some more Rufus. Let's see, Tycho, like that sort of ethereal, I guess you'd call it electronic music. I like that a lot, especially when I'm exercising. Let's see, Psych France, like this 1960 to 1970 sort of goofy French music I was listening to. I would say for the I have Doja Cat on here that I was trying to listen to so I can be up on the popular people.
Yeah, what the kids are listening to.
What the kids are listening to. Yeah. I mean, I do, you know, it's important, I think. I mean, country, like I don't listen to a lot of country music, but I definitely listen to it so I can understand what the hell's going on in the world. I mean, so I know that I'm at least, I mean, in Nashville, if you're going to try to write country songs, you should at least know what the hell's happening out there. I mean, I'd say that was definitely a John Prine rabbit hole when he passed away. I mean, I'm a singer-songwriter dude, ultimately. Yep. I think last show I saw might have been Brandi Carlile at the Ryman, which was incredible. I mean, I'm all over the map. You know, I am all over the map. That's really a vague non-answer for you.
It's not. I mean, I just like knowing people's thoughts and opinions. Sometimes it opens up conversation for what I'm listening to. I do want to say one more thing, though. It's funny. I think you even said this, or it was in the comments on your 50 and 50 on Instagram, and I just kind of picked up on it. But I thought it'd be a fun topic to talk about. So I've got a lot of influences. I love classic rock a lot, and I like new rock. I like everything. One of my favorite bands is Pink Floyd. Oh. And you know, it just is, but it's not like I've got songs that I like better in whole. Like I could say my favorite song is not a Pink Floyd song, but I do love the essence of what they do. One of the songs that you've got on Exercise in Loneliness Volume 1, it's called Look at the Moon. And on that, you make a very specific reference to Roger Waters. I regret this reference. And
actually, it's not wrong, but I do.
It's not wrong. No, but I think it's cool. And I think I remember, and I didn't really care. I mean, actually, it made sense when I read your comment. But you said, you know, as I quote, I believe it goes, quoting Roger Waters, "Wish you were here." And it's a cool homage. It's a cool reference. But you said that, well, Roger Waters worked better than David Gilmour lyrically, and I thought that was kind of fun. And I mean, did you really not think of it? Did you have the debate in your head? Oh, really?
I did not have the debate.
David Gilmour sang the song. I should have said David Gilmour. I don't really care. I just thought it was fun. Talk about it.
I mean, I did too, actually. I'm glad somebody called it out. But I mean, I believe they wrote it together.
They did?
So I think so, yeah. So it's not wrong to say Roger Waters said it best, even though David Gilmour is sort of, it's weird. Like David Gilmour is what so many people know vocally as Pink Floyd, but Roger Waters is the one they know as Pink Floyd. Like, I think that would be I think that's accurate, but
that's fairly accurate.
It sang better. I didn't think like, do I need to say both of them said it best? I mean, I really like that sort of trick of calling out people by name or singing. Like there's another song, By Her Side on maybe the first album. And I say, you know, I thought we'd always ride those wild horses. I tried to sing the melody of Wild Horses from the Rolling Stones. I think that's just kind of fun little sort of Easter egg to put in songs. And it matters. You know, music is important to us. Like when you say Wish You Were Here, I mean, for a good chunk of the music listening population, that's a Pink Floyd song. I mean, it's also just a nice sentiment to say, I wish you were here, but it is it's Pink Floyd song. So yeah, somebody called me out on that. I can't remember who it was. Probably one of my friends, and it was worth talking about. And of course, I went back and I was like, oh shit, do I not put the song out? Is somebody am I gonna get a call from David Gilmour and to correct me? I mean, it doesn't matter ultimately. I mean, people will get it. I mean, look, nobody's going to hear this song. I mean, it's a very small, finite number of people. I always thought it was a good song and worth a cut. If Kenny Chesney wants to cut Look at the Moon and he wants to talk to me about who wrote Wish You Were Here, well then fine. We can talk about it.
That's funny.
We can say Kermit the Frog wrote Wish You Were Here. I don't care what you say as long as you cut it. Song. Yeah, right. All right. That's kind of my stance on all songs. Like you can cut the worst song I've ever written in my entire life and make everyone think that's the only song I've ever written. I don't care.
You're saying something that's really funny. You're like, well, you know what, David Gilmour going to come on and hear my song and all of a sudden give me a call. I mean, that would be crazy, right? So someone was talking about this the other day and I said, you know, I'm calling this Livestream live at Chance's house. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's really original. And yes, everyone, I know it's like live at Daryl's house. Listen, if Daryl Hall happens to be on Facebook and then happens to like stumble upon my page out of the millions of people are on there and happens to see a live stream at 7:00 on Thursdays and says, hey, live at Chance's house. You Yeah, no, I don't like that. And sends me a like cease and desist letter. I'm framing that on the wall and proudly putting it back here. And then I'll call it, something else at something else. And it won't be live at Chance's house. That'd be amazing. I would want that to happen.
That would be amazing.
Have
my little head. I agree. My earbuds are about to die. They just didn't. So if I drop out for a second, it's because I'm switching to my speakerphone.
All right, not a problem. So this actually is a good segue to kind of get to the last thing. So what's the final word is on you. Go, Blue. What do you want to say to everybody?
Oh my gosh. Well, listen, I appreciate anybody that listens to my music. I certainly appreciate anybody that derives some sort of value. I've got some really nice comments over the last couple of months. I mean, I'm just a nobody singing to basically nobody. So anybody that finds a reason to pay attention and get something positive out of my art, I mean, I can't thank them enough. I mean, I kind of wish everyone would just stop so I could just quit and wrap it up and never do it ever again. That's not true. But sometimes you're like, oh, this person said I was really good. Now I have to keep doing it. Damn it. But I've really enjoyed making music the last couple of months. And I've had some people say, I really look forward to it every morning. It's been a really positive thing for me during what has been a pretty not positive time for us all for the last couple of months. So, I mean, what else? Just like you said, you get one nice compliment. What else can you ask for? I mean, that's all. That's the only win I can get these days, and I'm fine with that.
Well, that's really great, and I know how you feel. I mean, in the same way. Look, I think we're both, coming at this from the very similar approach. We love what we do. It fuels our soul, and it's either going to be a great side hustle, or if at the end of the day it's not, it's something that is fulfilling and makes us feel good about what we do. Yeah. So
I mean, it's all gravy at this point. I mean, if there's some more success than just enjoying what I'm putting out for the sake of enjoying it, then that's all gravy.
Well, Blue, listen, I really appreciate you taking the time. I mean, I know it's been a long time since we've actually even seen each other, much less even said two words to each other, but I was sad that I couldn't come out and see you for your show that you did out in Dallas with Matt Nathanson, and I hope that if you get to do that again, then maybe I get to catch up with you then. And who knows? Maybe we meet up in another way in the future.
Sure, I hope so.
Everyone, this is Blue Sanders. You can find him on bluesanders.com, on Instagram at Blue Sanders. That's BLU Sanders. And for more information about what he's doing, where he's doing his photography, his book, his music, and all the things that he's done, go to bluesanders.com for your one-stop shop. Hey, it's been a pleasure, Blue. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. This has been helpful for me too, because like I said, not only do we know each other, but I really came as a fan first approach because I really like the songs that you've done. I like a lot of the stuff full band. I like this acoustic stuff. And I think that a lot of people that watch on here and, will appreciate it too, because how does one exchange music? Hey, I want you to check this out. And if I get to be a platform for you in some way and go, hey guys, I want you to check this out. It's just one more networking contact that allows you to get out there, and maybe someone else will appreciate it like I do.
Well, likewise. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it. It's nice to hear my own voice for a long time in a row. I'm just kidding. There's too much of that. I've enjoyed it. Thanks
absolutely.
For letting me speak.
My pleasure, and I hope we get to do it again in the future. All right, everyone. So thanks for watching the interview with Blue Sanders. Right after this, I'm going to be playing live at Chance's house. And thanks for everyone for chiming in. And we'll be back in just a few minutes. Thank you so much. We'll be right back.